I want to tell you about a transformational weekend for men's. It's part of the men's team organization I'm part of. I did this weekend 8 years ago and I fell in love with it. And since then, I've done it about a dozen more times as one of the people on the training team, one of the coaches. The reason I'm making this video, to be absolutely honest, is there's some men in my life that I want to talk about this weekend. And I'm kind of stopped because I'm treated like a salesperson. I'm treated like, what do I want? We're suspicious. This is a volunteer organization. We are volunteers. Nobody's making money, so there's no sales. So why am I inviting men to do this weekend? Both for myself and in every legacy discovery. It's called, the weekend is called, the Transformational Weekend for Men is called Legacy Discovery Weekend. Legacy Discovery Experience. And each time I did this weekend, I see men get transformation in their life. But here's the tricky part. When I'm sitting with a man in my life, I can't tell him what he's going to get because we have so many exercises over 3 days, Friday evening into the night, and then all day Saturday, and then Sunday into the afternoon. And there's so many things, both exercises to do with the thinking in the head, exercise to do with the heart, exercise to do with the emotions. And it seems like every man gets a transformational point. They get their weekend at a different exercise. And we know that because after the weekend, we get feedback from the participants. And we're amazed how everybody gets something. So I don't know what you're going to get. So here's a thought what might be useful. And I wish I could maybe be more courageous and talk to men in my life like this, is I'm going to go through the timeline. Now, I'm not supposed to say exactly what happens because, we don't want to have spoilers, but I'm going to talk in generality. As I'm talking about it, I'm kind of going to think about things that really transformed my life and how, and transformation I saw from other men. So I have my computer here with the timeline. I'm going to go through it just in general and kind of quickly. So there's one of the learning in the weekend is to live in integrity. I will talk about that more. There's a time to just be in nature, and in our busy life with all the screens, it's not often that we're just being, just kind of feeling what's happening in our body, in our emotion, just being with nature. So there's time for that. Part of this weekend, the part that's more the learning part, is based on the Jung archetypes, Carl Jung archetypes. I'll put some links in the description just so if you want to research it more. And the idea there is that people in general, but in this, since it's a men's organization and this is a weekend for men, I'm going to talk about men. So men have 4 archetypes, 4 kind of energies, and they are magician. It has to do with like figuring out things out, logic, even intuition. There's lover, which has to do with emotions and feelings. There is warrior, that has to do with taking action and just getting stuff done and protecting ourselves and protecting the people we love. And then when all of these are operating at a mature level, there is the king energy, which is kind of a combination of all of them. And each one of these energies, the magician, the lover, the warrior, the king, they have the mature, but they also have the shadows, which is kind of manifest in different ways. And the fact is, for most of us, most of the time, the shadows is what comes up. And what this weekend gives us is some awareness of the shadows. And once we have awareness, then we actually have a choice to shift things. I find it almost like if you think of those machines that sort coins, nickel, dime, quarter, loonie, whatever, clink, clink, clink. So when I have a feeling or an emotion, I'm upset about something, now after doing this work so much, I can be like, oh, I see. That's my level shadow coming up. I want to withdraw. I notice it. I still want to stay within it for a few hours, but now I'm aware of it, and I think I'm actually going to reach out to somebody just so I can get out of it. So there's awareness. I'll get more into that when we get to those exercises. So this is still the Friday. We just have this introduction. And then there's some exercises that get us aware of how brief our time is. You see, the whole weekend is called Legacy Discovery, and the idea is, what legacy do we want to leave behind? You know, what's our purpose in life, and what are we going to leave behind? Because our time in life is really relatively brief, unfortunately for me, considering I'm 65. I'm telling you, I swear to God, in my head I'm 25, but nobody else believes me. Okay, so we also help men figure out what exactly they want. It seems obvious, but I know when I did my first self-development course, this was like almost 20 years ago in a different organization, I thought the reason I went there was to get more organized in my business. And what I got is, why do I not have the ability to love, you know, and why am I not connected to my emotions? So it's really hard to know what's actually going to be discovered in this process. Everybody has their own path. So we do some games. Just the next day we do some games, some physical things. We notice what comes up around that. And this is where this is on the Saturday. We begin to talk about the different shadows. What I'll do, I'll just talk about them briefly, about all the archetypes and their shadows. So just from my memory, it's not going to be exact. In the weekend, we go much deeper into them. So if we start with the magician, you know, the knowledge, the wisdom, then listening to our intuition. These are, you know, people who were healers and the training low profession. So the shadow of the magician manifests kind of in two ways. Usually it's either too much of that or too little of that archetype. So one of them is the trickster. It's like, do I have a deal for you? The con man. That comes up as a shadow when we're not being honest, we're not being truthful. And then the other one is kind of the one who is like, it's called denying innocence. Like, what, me? It's not. Oh, I didn't know. I had no idea. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to tell you that. It's kind of like being innocent. I know I've experienced that in my life where I'm like, oh, no, it's not my fault. And then later, if I really stop and reflect on it, I can see my part in it, and therefore I can do something. So noticing the magician, when are we being not truthful? When are we manipulating? When are we kind of denying, not taking responsibility, and moving ourselves by the force of noticing it, having awareness, moving ourselves to the mature magician, which is the wise leader, generous, listens to intuition, really trains and learns about things, and then shares the knowledge. So that's the magician. Then I'm going to go with the lover. This one really hit me hard. The lover has two shadows, like everyone has two shadows. The shadow, it's really two ways of dealing with emotion. So the shadow part that doesn't have a lot of it is kind of depressed, down, disconnected, alone. I'm kind of pausing because this is how my dad lived his life. In the shadow of the lover, there was always kind of down and disconnected and sad. So that really impacted me. Then there's the other side of it, which is they're addicted. So to get away from feeling these emotions, we go into addictions. You know, it can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be internet, video games, whatever we do in excess, just not to feel, just to avoid feeling. And then again, and sometimes, you know, we can go from one to the other. We feel sad, we feel hurt, we overeat, or we go online shopping, or whatever it is, not to feel it. And just having that awareness for me, and I use it all the time. It's been 8 years since I learned these concepts. I notice, oh, I'm feeling disconnected, I'm feeling upset. I'm going to reach out. Even though I don't want to talk to a person they say that hurt me, like, can we have a phone call? Can we meet? I want to share with you what happened. And then I'm moving to the mature, and the mature is connected. The lover is connected. He's kind of connected to his own emotions. He's connected to experience, to the present moment. And he's just connected to others, and he can be loving and connected. And that takes something. So again, noticing the shadows and then choosing to move to the mature. And it's always a constant flow. It's like we're never always in the mature, but just noticing we're in the shadows. So that was the magician and the lover, and then there's the warrior. The warrior is an interesting one. I think it's the clearest, most obvious one. If somebody does not have warrior energy, maybe they're very passive in their life, maybe they're kind of stuck in their life. They're not able to begin things like get into a career or get off the couch or get motivated to go to school or finish their degree or get up and clean the area in the house. It's just that doing, So the shadow, and so this is the warrior, and the shadows of the warrior. It's when you have too much warrior energy, you can become a sadist. You want to attack and hurt people and be angry, and if it's really hurt people physically and emotionally, you attack. That's the sadist. Then there's a masochist who's kind of lets people walk over him, doesn't put boundaries in his life, but then turns that anger and rage inside. And a lot of people who feel really down on themselves, who have anxiety and some forms of depression, the warrior turn on themselves. So again, noticing that and being like, wait, I'm noticing that I'm really hurting somebody. I'm noticing that I am really attacking myself. How can I move to the mature warrior? And a mature warrior is basically the strong entity that protects the people in their life that they love, protects the realm, takes action, knows when to stop thinking. So it takes the magician who's like, the people who have overthinking and analyzing the warrior is like, okay, enough. We got information. We chose it. Now we'll take action. So just learning to move from those shadows into action and get our life moving. Warrior energy probably has the most immediate kind of impact. If a man doesn't have warrior energy and he gets some, his life can start clicking and moving rather than being stuck. And then there's the king. So the king, as much as it's the king also has the two shadows. And one shadows is the tyrant king, the king who's controlling by fear and punishing and just power, tyrant, dictator. And then there's the king who's like the weakly prince. I think Game of Thrones had that guy, there's a weakly prince, he uses his power, but he's like, he's mean, but he's weak and he can be pushed around. And again, those are the two shadows of the king. And to be the mature king, you want to be the leader who's strong and generous. And most of all, the king wants to create a kingdom. And a kingdom can be a family, can be a work environment, can be a project you're doing with two friends. That kingdom of yours, you're doing everything to help those people rise up. And as those people do better, the kingdom does better. And the king, you don't even notice that the king did anything, but he created this environment to raise the leaders, and he's wise and he's kind and he's strong. So when we live in the mature of all the archetypes, then we are living as a king in our life. And you could be a king in your life when you are washing dishes in a restaurant. You come in and you rearrange the area and you make it more efficient and you're kind to everybody and you do your work. Before you know it, you may be told, oh, we're looking for somebody in the front. And then before you do an amazing king-like job there, before you know it, we need a manager. Just like, that's just one example. But in any area of our life, it could be a company of 50 employees. And if you're a mature king, the whole company can rise. So just to summarize, the biggest thing for me is when something happens, I notice and I think, what shadow was that? Oh, I know. For me, it's usually, the shadow lover. I got hurt, so I feel sad. I feel disconnected. I want to eat a lot. Okay, I notice it. Let me just move to the mature, connect, love, be loving to myself, and move on. Okay, so that's the archetypes. We talk about some mistakes we made in the past and how to be kind to ourselves about it. Later today and Saturday, we deal with some heavy emotions. So one thing about this weekend and even the men group in general is um, the reason I was attracted to coming to a men's team is I was looking for a place in my life where I can have more vulnerable talks. Because I found in regular life, people don't want to hear that I'm down. They just want to talk about, you know, how the sports team did or the price of condos. And there's not a lot of room to talk about like, hey man, I'm feeling really down. I think I'm really anxious and I'm depressed. Like not a lot of people want to, not a lot of people are comfortable talking about it. Oh man, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm kind of lost. I'm stuck. So in this organization, in this weekend, it's a space where men can really open up and kind of drop that mask that we put in, when we walk on and with people and we pretend that everything is okay and we're strong, and we're happy, and we post nice things, and just revealing like really what's happening with us. And it's amazing because you may be in this weekend with 15 or 20 other men, and it's only like 2.5 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and by the end of it, you feel like you've known these men for like 10 years because you probably had more conversations and they know more about you than your closest friends do. It's again, only if you choose to share. You could also just be taking it in, but the space is very open. So there's also exercises around getting anger out. Men especially express themselves many times through anger. And sometimes what happened to men, I know it happened to me, is when the anger is too strong and it causes damage, then I'm afraid of my own anger. And I've seen other men who are afraid of the anger, so they push it down and they're operating on top of anger. But people can sense this man is like operating on top of her. We can sense it. And there's an opportunity that's both physical and emotional to let out the anger and let out the anger. And then anger is like on top of a boiling pot of grief. Once you get rid of the anger, you can see the grief, and then you can grieve, and you can forgive, and you can kind of, it's a real catharsis. You can. I see some men who are like, they feel lighter than they felt in like 20 years. They got it out. They got it out, and now they can move on. They can move on, and they can celebrate. They can celebrate the fact that, they've been through something that was powerful, impactful. Tell you if I'll put in the description a link for the current weekends, but this weekend is happening next Friday in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But it happens a couple of times a year. And while most weekends we barely remember, this weekend, I know men in my men's team who've done it 20 years ago, and they still remember it very clearly. In my weekend, 8 years ago, I remember very clearly. It's a lifetime memory, and it's transformational. It transforms ourselves. It also transforms our relationship to people in our life, because maybe we see something. Maybe we understand things about the relationship we haven't seen before. Healing relationships with parents. A lot of men have a complicated relationship with their father, so seeing how things are from for the father, having empathy and being able to get the anger out and then forgive and then complete. People renew relationships with their kids, with friends that they cut off. So it's very transformational. I'm skipping definitely some things because, there's a chance to be acknowledged for the strength that people saw in you. There's, exercise about the legacy you want to leave, because, what would our legacy be if a bus hit us today? How do we want our legacy to be after we lived our life? And one of the most significant exercises on the Sunday is discovering a higher purpose, a life purpose. And it's really a different kind of life. I think a lot of men that are stuck, me included, in the past, I was stuck because I didn't have a life purpose. I was doing my business, but I was like, just to make money. And it's kind of like just walking around. But once I had a life purpose, and this is a long exercise that helps you brainstorm, see what resonates with you, see what you actually want to do in life. And then it becomes almost like this North Star for your life. And as in life, there are many choices and decisions and different paths. You keep choosing the ones that move you towards it. You're not going to get to your life purpose right away, but it gives you a direction in life. So while maybe before you're meandering like this in life, now you have this North Star and you're like, oh, you know what? Here's a job. It's more money. This one's a bit less money, but it's something that actually is kind of related to my purpose. I'll take that job. And then, oh, I'll take this path. I'll take this course. I'm going to read this. I will watch this video. And just slowly and slowly you move towards your life's purpose. And it gives you direction. And really, it's a real cure from feeling down, because now you have a purpose. For most people, it's helping others in some way. And it just gives purpose and takes us out of our head when we're sitting alone in a room, stuck in life, and just playing video games or watching 12 hours of screen on screens a day. It's like it's not a recipe for feeling great. So having this focus outside of our head. Somebody said our head is a dangerous place to be. Out of our head, helping others leads for fulfillment and passion. So this is what's difficult for me to say to men in real life, because I even had men ghost me because it's like they think I'm pushing them to do something. No, I don't. On some level, I don't care if you do it or not. We don't make money. Unfortunately, we're all volunteers. Not unfortunately, actually, fortunately, we're all volunteers. Nobody's making money. It's about, I've seen what it did for me. I see every time I do this, what it does, how men's lives shift. And I just want to offer it to you. That's all. So, look at the description for more details. And if you made it this deep into the video, thank you so much.